Okay, so just as a little recap, this is a monthly meeting that provides quick updates from the Regen Network team on the development of the Cosmos SDK application. Regen Network earlier this year took on the role of being one of the lead maintainers for the Cosmos SDK. So here we're just gonna go through a brief update on what we've been doing in the past month, and then maybe talk a little bit about what's to come next. And so this is our agenda for today. Two items specifically related to this last month. We had the 4.2.6 release, as well as the 4.3 RC0 release. Also, we are working on updating the chain upgrade guide to version 4.3. So that will be an upgrade guide focusing on the use of in-place store migrations, as well as recommending the use of Cosmo Visor. So we'll just do a single node network upgrade example demo to show you a little bit of what that looks like. And then we'll talk a little bit about some of the items that we're looking at in terms of prioritizing for the next release, the 4.4 release. And then we'll have time to talk about anything that any community members have questions about. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the 4.2.6 release, this went out June 20th. It included a lot of minor bug fixes and improvements. Some of the main improvements fixes and improvements to highlight here are the Xbank's init Genesis optimization. This should significantly decrease the Genesis initialization time. Bumping the Tendermint version 3.4.11 and this was implemented to fix a state syncing issue. We've also included the adding of the Cosmos SDK version to node info. This allows the ability to query the SDK version used by a node. And then in addition, there's been several fixes to the IBC module, including the addition of allowing for the querying by height for the header and the node state command. IBC's export Genesis is now exports all fields as well, including previously missing next client sequence, next connection sequence, and next channel sequence. There's also a new subcommand, query IBC transfer escrow address. This can be used to get the escrow address for a channel. And then also a couple updates in terms of the SDK context, including the addition of two fields, context header hash. This adds the current block header hash obtained during an ABCI request begin block. And then also context gas meter refund gas adds support for refunding gas directly to the gas meter. So those are the updates for the 4.2.6 release, which went out on June 20th. Also, just as a note, there are several other minor bug fixes and improvements. Take a look at the changelog or the milestones for the 4.2.6 release if you're, 4.2.6 release if you're looking for more details. As we discussed on our last call last month, we've been working on the 4.3 release. Mostly we discussed the manual testing and everything that we were working on, and we highlighted a few features that are included in the 4.3 release. Here, we can go over those highlights again. We have the ADR 29 fee grant module, which was added. The fee grant module is a way to allow accounts to grant another account an allowance to spend the grantor's account balance for fees within certain defined limits, whether those limits are periodic or just a one-time limit. This has been implemented. It's part of a key management solution in terms of improving the user experience around using keys, and it solves the problem of signing accounts needing to possess sufficient balance in order to pay fees. So in terms of resolving that issue, and with a lot of new people using blockchain applications not having the initial tokens to submit a transaction, this way the someone with the token balance can grant another account the necessary tokens to submit a transaction. So the other one included with this was the auth-z, which is part of ADR 30. And this module is related to the fee grant module in terms of improving the user experience around key management, but this is focused on granting another account the ability to execute a message on behalf of the grantee. So the permissions are set in an authorization, and what's called an authorization, and that defines the messages that can be executed by the other account. As well, one of the other changes we've made is in terms of adding the updates to addresses. Addresses were all 20 bytes long before, generated by truncating the first 20 bytes of the SHA-256 hash. ADR 29 introduces a new specification for driving addresses of all kinds of addressable accounts. This includes SEC 256K1 public keys still have 20 byte addresses in order to keep backwards compatibility, but new public key types ed 25519 and module accounts will have 32 byte addresses to increase collision resistance. Also, new algorithms have been specified for composed accounts like multi-sigs or derived accounts like module sub-accounts. An exciting new feature is the in-place store migrations. Previously, we were doing migrations by exporting the Genesis and then basically making the modifications and re-importing it. And this was a process that, in terms of the exporting, it took like over an hour or an hour and a half, I think, for this to happen on Gaia. So the in-place store migrations is a solution that will hopefully significantly increase the migration or reduce the migration time. Yeah, it's actually adding a way to programmatically update the store in place by adding an upgrade handler in the app.go file. We can take a look at this with the example in terms of the chain upgrade. But those are some of the highlights. This release also includes a lot of other breaking changes, minor breaking changes and improvements that you can take a look at the changelog for more details. So as far as running a chain upgrade demo, does anyone have any questions yet? Or Corey and Robert, do you want to add anything in terms of the previous two slides? Okay, it sounds like we're all good. Anil, also you're on the call. Feel free to jump in and add anything. Okay, so for this upgrade demo, we're working on an upgrade guide for migrating from 4.2 to 4.3. And so here, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and check out the latest 4.2 version, and we're going to be running. Someone have a question, or is that just mic's on?
Hello?
Sorry about that.
Did we lose you?
I had some internet connectivity issues.
We are back.
We are back. Sorry about that. Okay, so we were running the example here, setting up the node, configuring our SIMD binary. Let me get situated again now. And, we're also going to configure broadcast mode block. Okay, so we're going to initialize the SIMD binary. We will need to set the minimum gas price as well. And we're going to set this to 0 stake. We're also going to need to update the voting period just for the sake of this demonstration. So we're going to actually update it to a reduced time of 20 seconds. I've got a JQ command here to go ahead and do that. But basically, this is updating the genesis.json file, the voting params, the voting period. We're going to reduce it to 20 seconds. So we can see that's we don't have to wait around for the upgrade, which would take a long time. Create a new validator key will be the next step. So we're just creating this in the test keyring backend. Also, we're going to add this validator to the Genesis file, add this account to the Genesis file so it has an initial token balance. We're going to go ahead and create a Genesis transaction and collect that transaction. So this is all just kind of setting up the SIM app chain initially. So the next step is going to install Cosmo Visor. You can just run go get GitHub, Cosmos SDK, Cosmo Visor. I already have that installed. So I'm just going to go ahead and yeah, just a little bit of background information. Cosmo Visor is a process manager for application binaries. So essentially, it manages the switching over of binaries from one version to another when you're running a chain upgrade. This in combination with the in-store and place migrations should significantly improve the upgrade process. So we're recommending to use Cosmo Visor. And yeah, we'll go ahead and see what that looks like. A couple things that you need to do in terms of configuration. Cosmo Visor uses environment variables for the configuration. So we're going to quickly export a couple environment variables. These are required. We're also going to set the automatic upgrade option. So because we're using in-place store migrations, we can go ahead and set the automatic upgrade option, which will allow us to Cosmo Visor to automatically restart the node once the chain has been halted at the specified upgrade height. So this is another part of configuring Cosmo Visor. We need to create the Genesis file within Cosmo Visor, or Genesis bin directory within Cosmo Visor. This is where we're going to store the initial binary for our SIM app application. And here, this is what we're doing. We're copying this built SIMD binary to that Genesis bin. So that is what Cosmo Visor will use when the node is first started with Cosmo Visor. So now that we have the Genesis binary all configured with Cosmos Visor, we're going to go ahead and check out the 4.3x release branch in order to demonstrate updating to the 4.3 version of the chain. Now, this next step, I'm going to open up my code editor. We're going to edit the SIM app application, and within the SIM app application, we're going to add an upgrade handler. So down on line 260, we can see that we've got this upgrade keeper here. Just below this, we're going to add a function to call this register upgrade handlers, which I will go ahead and add here at line 420. So this is the upgrade handler for in-place store migrations. Essentially what this is doing is it's providing a name, or it's going to identify the name of the plan in order to run this upgrade, and it's going to migrate all of the modules from their initial version to version 1 here. It's important that these versions are implemented within each module. The consensus version is implemented within each module and set to 1 initially as initial value. If it's set to 0, it's going to run init Genesis again. So this will just go through and run the migrations for each module. And also, we're going to be upgrading the store for 2 new modules here, the OTC and fee grant modules. And then we have one more step here, which is adding the import that's used in the run migrations. So this is essentially all we need to do in terms of implementing in-place store migrations in our application, along with adding the consensus version to each module, which is what is being used to identify the necessary migrations to run here. So we're going to go back now to our terminal, and we're going to build the binary for the 4.3 version. And then we're also going to add this binary to, we're going to create the folder as we did for the Genesis. We're going to add an upgrades folder with the 4.3 version, and we're going to copy this to copy the new binary that we just built to that directory, to the bin directory for that. And then all that's left now is we just start Cosmo Visor. And so now we've got our chain running, and it's using the Genesis binary here initially. So we're going to open up a new window. And what I've done here is submitted a software upgrade proposal using the same name that we saw in our upgrade handler. So it's going to identify the upgrade, which upgrade handler to run. And then we also are going to make our deposits, and we're going to add our vote. And so essentially what will happen now is at the upgrade height of 20, which is what we defined in our proposal, we'll see the Cosmo Visor switch. The chain will halt at the upgrade height, and Cosmo Visor will automatically restart the chain with the new binary that we provided in the upgrade 4.3 bin directory. Does anyone have any questions while we wait for this to roll out? Okay, so here we're going to hit height 20. And when we hit height 20, you'll see that we have now, the chain has been halted, upgrade is needed, and Cosmo Visor has read that and switched the binaries and started the chain again. So the upgrade process, we've actually just migrated all of our modules using in-place store migrations, and Cosmo Visor handled the restarting of the SIMD binary. So that's the demo. Took a little bit longer. Oops. Took a little bit longer than I planned. Yeah, I think we'll hold off on talking about what's next here in this call, and just open up the floor if anyone has questions. It doesn't have to be related to the releases necessarily. But if anyone has any questions or comments, this is the time to open it up to the floor. And Corey, you can probably stop the recording now.